Hello guys, we are live for the third installment of Much Ado About Dota. With me today is my usual cohorts. I'll just go around the circle. First one up is Bulba, right? Hello Bulba, how are you doing?
Hello, I'm doing fine.
You were actually recently mentioned by Golan15 as being his second favorite curry boy, but anyways. Second up we have PAINTITGOLD. What's up, Paint?
Wow.
Hey, I was trying to give Golan a shout out. And there it is. So anyways, what's up, Paint? How you doing? You still muted your mic, by the way.
All right, well, I unmuted my mic. I forgot about that. But yeah, Bulba referred to himself as a curry boy. But,
Yeah, that was not Golan.
lately, I mean, not much has been up besides watching Golan 15 bring down the hammer on noobs all day, every day.
Rounding out our usual guests, our AUI 2000. I don't know what you occupy. I keep trying to say captain, but you don't say that you're the captain. But anyways, carry player for Dignitas, top team in America. Hello.
I
Well, you guys are the only North American team,
just
so I can
lost
say
to
that.
EG.
Yeah, but they have a Dane, right?
That is true.
So that doesn't count. Anyways, and finally, rounding out our guest today, we have the caster for Beyond the Summit, co-casting with gods over there on twitch.tv/Beyond the Summit. We have LD, also having to cast the international finals. How you doing, buddy?
Good, good. I may not have slept very much, but happy to be here. Thanks for having me aboard.
Is that the worst part about casting? Just the fact that your sleep schedule is completely off base?
I don't know. It's kind of like you get high off the lack of sleep. If you're casting good games, like if you have a long delay, that you're just like, oh my god, I want to take a nap, but I have nightmares. If I try to do that about not waking back up. So, but yeah, you get tired, but for me, it's worth it.
Yeah, of course. Anybody that's in this business, you're going to be pretty tired once in a while. Anyways, so first topic up we have today, we have the RaidCall League Finals hosted by EG in conjunction with their title sponsor RaidCall. We had Empire actually winning 3-1 over EG. Kurt, I believe your team actually participated in that. What were your thoughts on the general tournament itself, the timing, the schedule and all that? How did you enjoy participating in the tournament?
It was good. The tournament was, well, it was a really long tournament, right? Like, I think we started just after TI2, and we went all the way to now. And I guess Empire was the favorite going in, so the results were sort of expected.
Why do you say that they're the favorite? Do you feel that they just practice more than you guys do? Because I know they have been on a tear recently, but weren't you feeling confident going into the matchup?
Going to matchup with Empire? Well,
Well, if you had to play against them.
I think we did play Empire, and we lost. Actually, I don't know if that's for TPL or D2L. Oh, well, that's all.
You guys played them in the D2L. I
Did we
remember
play in
watching the
D2L?
games. Yeah,
I
you
can't
guys
remember.
lost 2-1.
Yeah. Like, all our games against the... I think all our games for DTL, we would lose, like, 2-1.
Oh,
And
that was
usually-
actually...
Is
Yeah.
that
you got-
TPL? I don't know if that's
No,
TPL.
it was, you guys played them in the D2L, because I remember you guys picked Viper all 3 games, I think.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I wasn't happy about that.
Hey, we won one.
Yeah, you won one, but I mean, I don't think Viper is a hero that can be picked like 3 times like that.
Was that just in a direct counter to Scandal's TA?
Yeah, I think it worked, except... Well, I guess we'll discuss this a bit more later on, but Radiant mid is interesting.
Okay. So I noticed that in most of these games, actually, Scandal was playing TA and Empire let it slip. They tried playing against it. And I noticed in Game 3... Wait, was it Game 3? Empire actually gave up TA and they tried incorporating a Jakiro mid against TA. How successful do you think that was? And do you like the idea behind it, or do you just feel like it doesn't work at all? And the only counter there is Bat.
Actually, I don't think Batrider really counters TA mid. I mean, there was those games with Dendi and Scandal playing each other, and the TA won both matchups. Like, Dendi on TA and then Scandal on TA, and TA won both of them. I think, like, Veno beats her. I think Meg has a good shot sometimes with ganks. I think Viper beats her. I think Storm can CS. But it's pretty hard to beat a TA mid.
Yep, Sam actually knows that well enough.
You beat TA mid with Axe.
Oh yeah, Axe stops.
Does it
Until
really?
you get ganked
Yeah.
multiple
Well,
times and...
But that's like any hero though.
Yeah,
like you
that's-
can
that's
gank.
not
I think
really
one
fair
on
to
one
say.
pure like You can ask EY about Axe plays
'Cause-
versus.
It's true because like Axe, it's easier for Axe's team to gank the TA than it is for TA's team to gank the Axe too. So
Yeah. Wasn't there a Chinese team that recently just used Axe mid?
Yeah, DK actually picked them up and tried to run an Axe solo mid. This was in the WCG China Grand Finals. What happened was it wasn't the TA mid, it was a dual lane there. So they actually rotated the Axe to the suicide lane, and they started running a tri lane. They ended up throwing their bounty hunter, who wasn't an off lane, in the mid. Bounty hunter died a few times, but it worked out really well. So the Chinese teams they like their Axe maybe a bit more than I think he's worth right now, I got to say. It hasn't worked too well. That DK is the only team that's run him successfully, but IG has experimented with him a couple of times, and, well, they've lost all those games. But
I think DK stole it from Bulba too.
+1.
As Bulba tries to tell us that all the strategies are stolen
Well,
from him.
well,
Bulba
but the
also
thing is-
invented Mech Viper and Manta Brood.
Yep,
and every
I
single
did.
build.
Yes, thank you.
Bulba's an innovator. But anyways, going back to the D2L League, we saw Empire did win 3-1. I think overall they had a really easy time, right? Do you feel that they're kind of like the team to beat right now? I know that they've had good success against Na'Vi as well. Josh, I know you watched a lot of Dota as well. Do you feel like Empire's the team to beat right now in terms of European teams and American?
European and American teams. I
Just
still
the
feel
Western
like,
scene.
yeah, I mean, on LAN, they kind of dominated up till Star Ladder, and then at the Star Ladder LAN, Na'Vi kind of put them back in their place, and they're just like, hey, we're Na'Vi. And yeah, Na'Vi just kind of crushed them at LAN. I think it was 3-1 in a best-of-5 grand final. But up till that point, Empire pretty much dominated everything online, and they've kept their practice schedule really high. They haven't slacked at all. Like, they frequently practice, and they play in every tournament right now. So they're like the most active Dota team, I'd say. And not only that, they're all really dedicated, and I think they're good friends too, which helps. And they're just improving every game, and they're really good right now. And I'm glad that they won the D2L. I thought EG had a pretty good chance of winning it because they were looking really hot lately, actually. Watching their games after they lost the G1 League, they picked up their play and they just started winning a lot of leagues and pretty much all their matches once they got off the Singapore host. So I think the G1 League helped them out quite a bit there. And yeah, but Empire is the team to beat in the West right now, for sure.
Okay. Kurt, I noticed you guys actually went 2-1 against them, right? In the playoffs, right? Leading up
Against
to...
Empire?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the game you guys won, what do you feel like kind of led to your success? And the game you guys lost, what do you feel that Empire does well to kind of catch you guys off?
The game that we won, we shut down their TA really hard mid. That's actually it. And the other game, I think the first game, TA got completely out of control. And the third game, they had a pull mid, and I think we'll talk about this later. I don't...
In the third game, I think you were... Were you on the Radiant side?
No, the third game we were Dire.
Oh. I thought you were Radiant.
Oh, he was dire.
And then
on
they
the
just-
third game.
It's Dire for sure,
Yeah.
because I need to hit a timing at level 5 or the lane doesn't work.
Can you expand on that? What do you mean you need to hit a timing?
But the thing about mid for a lot of matchups is that you're going to hit a certain level where you have kill potential or you can completely control the lane. For example, Viper at level 5 versus TA. Once Viper hits 5, TA gets 0 CS. And you can push them off EXP even. But if TA hits 6 when Viper is 5, for some reason like a Radiant mid pull or something, then the lane goes completely different.
Oh, the third game was... You had that bounty hunter, remember?
Oh yeah, Bounty Hunt. Oh yeah, no, that's the third game. Okay, the first game they had a pull. Okay, the third game I just played awful.
That was it.
I think it was a mutual awfulness from
Yeah,
Radiant there. I think there was a Naga sleep followed by a not Naga.
Oh,
Yeah,
no, that
making
black
just
hole.
he's unsleeping and he unsleeps before he says it, and then we just missed the hole completely. And then our tri lane lost 2 kills at really early, and that was the lane we were supposed to dominate. Our tri lane and mid were supposed to win and we lost, so that's how we lose.
So Sam, watching a lot of Empire's games, do you feel like the kind of key to the lineup is trying to take away control from Scandal, or what do you feel like
No,
makes them
I
such a
actually
unique team?
don't think Scandal is a root. Every game I see them play, they have like honestly, I think they have the best offlaner right now in the West. Like the Funnick guy completely shits on like everyone solo. Like I remember yesterday's Darkseer, like he did a really smart strat where obviously sometimes you lane cut with Darkseer, but he took the creeps and then he took it to the neutral camp and he was farming both, and then like he took it to the big camp. I don't know. He had like 60 CS on Fear at some point, and he was just insane. And like the plays he makes, I think is pretty insane. So I think he's the best player on Empire by far. And a lot of the games, he's like the clutch guy. You know, he's like the YYF of that team right now. At least that's what I think. Like I haven't seen him play bad in any game yet.
Yeah, wasn't he? Actually, was it him that was leading in kills in the D2L tournament? I thought I heard AC say that.
I don't know. I think every game, but they always, whenever they do their aggressive trialing, Empire has this kind of strategy where they put Blow on like a 3 roll, and then they send Funnick on the 1 roll, and then Scandal on the 2 roll mid, and they always aggressive, and then they send Funnick on the Clink safe lane, and I've never seen them lose a game with that kind of strategy, because even if their aggressive tri-lane goes somewhat even, or even if they lose, they're completely crushing the other lanes, and if Clinks can hit that timer where he gets Orchids by 16 minutes, it's unbelievably hard to stop him. Like,
And-
you lose complete map control.
And he was even getting it at like 11 or 12 minutes, I saw in one of the games, when they ran the
Yeah,
TA mid and the Clinks in the solo lane.
Yeah, I think he soloed like some bad hero on that time, and the guy just left him straight up, and he had like I think it was Risk Dignitas actually, and he got like a 10-minute, 10-minute Orchid or something, I don't know, but it was pretty insane. Yeah, he soloed
Bounty Hunter.
Bounty Hunter. Yeah, he soloed Bounty Hunter and completely crushed him.
No, the
and-
lane move. No, I don't think he got Orchid slow that game. I think you're the wrong game because Bounty Hunter was winning in CS until he left to gank bottom, and then Clinks hit 7, I think, and Bounty Hunter couldn't even lane.
Which
okay,
game are you talking about?
There's so many games, but I see him play a
That
lot
was
of.
either TPL or DTL.
I know
it
in
was-
DTL he played top against Demon's Bounty as Clinks, and he had a really quick Orchid, and he had like
Yeah.
30 minutes of Daedalus, an Orchid, and a
That may have
BKB
been
or
against
something.
CG then.
That's
Yeah, that
the
was
game.
against CG.
That's the game then. I remember.
Trying
But
to do a Dignitas.
overall, as league, I want to have like just talk about like leagues like entirely like D2O. Like you mentioned how I think Curtis mentioned how it's been like for so long, right? Like 2 months. That's one thing I think tournaments should try and improve on. Like having the tournament for I know that DTO faced a lot of problems because a bunch of teams like they wanted to start right after TI2, which I think was kind of a mistake. So they like a lot of teams dropped out. I know Navi dropped out. I know Complexity dropped out. I know like another team dropped out, Quantic, I think, and they just that entire league has been up for like quite a while. So I do think that if you have to compact the league, it's more epic. I don't know, just my opinion. I don't like these like 3-4 month tournaments. It just loses. It's like it's kind of reminds me of original NASL in StarCraft. Did you watch that?
Yeah.
Just like over and over and over, and just like doesn't feel like all these games mean much. And then okay, obviously the final weekend just happened was pretty big. It was like good games, but then I just don't think all these like the weekly games meant much, and it just didn't feel like that impact. Oh, this game matters, you know? It just maybe if it's like compacted together, it's more like influential. That's just what I think.
Yeah.
So you're a bigger fan of like week-long tournaments instead of where they spread it out completely?
I love those week-long tournaments. It's like that's why like LANs are so fun, just because it's just happening there. You don't have to like wait endlessly, and then I just love that kind of format. I don't like but obviously some tournaments have to be like that. And if they host like compacted tournaments, that means they have to host more tournaments in a year, so that kind of hurts them. But
I mean,
do
there are formats you can use that actually make it a lot more exciting from week to week. I think part of the problem, it is, like you said, that these are long events, but you can have an ongoing league, which let's say it's even 3-4 months, and then you have, you know, your big grand finals or whatever after that. But if you structure it a way where there's sort of like a meaningful outcome at the end of every broadcast, at the end of every week, I think it really alleviates a lot of that. Like for example, the GSL, they actually have pretty long seasons. You know, I think it's around 2 months. Sometimes it's been a lot more in cases because
Yeah.
they have delays. But you know, even with their group stages, it's like every single match has meaning. You don't have a round robin format. You don't have like the Gosu League syndrome where, you know, they didn't even play the last couple of their matches because the winner had already been decided by then.
I actually like that format where, okay, I want a tournament. Like, why don't you make a tournament where you just start off with the group straight up and then you go into that? Like, obviously, you know, LAN tournaments do that. Why can't online? Like, I don't like this round robin that much. Like, TPL has that format, it just feels like these matches are endless and endless. It's like every match is just every day, and it just loses its like depth. That's what I think. That's just what my
I
opinion
agree.
is.
Like, even the G1 League, I felt like I followed pretty much all of the G1 League, and I really enjoyed following the G1 League. And I didn't really follow like the RaidCall League that much. Partly because like teams were like shuffling in and out because it was set up right after the international. But I like followed the G1 League, and I was following the storyline, and it was a lot of hype, and I really enjoyed it. So.
I mean, I think it's also something that, at least for the viewers, the broadcasters can help out a lot. They can help out a lot with, things like showing group standings every day, showing brackets when you're in the playoffs, updating, recapping the action that's happened earlier in the week. Frankly, it's something when I started casting, I was very guilty of this, and occasionally from time to time we're all rushed as casters. We don't get a chance to prepare. We don't have we don't have someone who can make Photoshop some good slides for us. But even if you just bring up the like Liquipedia's article about a tournament, there's a lot a broadcaster can do to help out the viewers. But I think there's still the concerns with the players. So from a broadcasting standpoint, I think there's a lot we could be doing, and we've been trying to do that with G1 League, and hopefully we're going to see more people do it in the future. But I mean, you can have a long tournament. I just think it's gotta every match has to matter to the team. So what I mentioned GSL, what they do with their group stages is you have 2 matches. First of all, you have 1 play 2, 3 play 4. The 2 winners play each other. The winner of that match moves on. Then you have your 2 losers play each other. The loser gets knocked out, and then the teams that are 1-1 after those 2 matches, they play. So every single match is meaningful, but you still have kind of this group stage format. The one downside is you don't get to see every single matchup, but you get to see almost all of them, and it just makes it a lot more interesting and kind of snappy, I think, for the viewers.
Yeah, I love that. G1 had that, right? So.
No, G1 actually had the round robin. I wasn't necessarily the biggest fan of their format, and their playoff bracket was. Well, if you haven't looked at it, it's pretty weird.
Did they have groups at first? I don't know. It was confusing, but
there were groups, and only 2 teams got knocked out of 10, and everybody played each other. There were some great games in the group stages, but there were a lot of meaningless games as well. Like the last match between IG versus EG. IG was already guaranteed to be first place, even if they lost 2-0, which you wouldn't expect to happen anyway, especially on a Singapore server. And well, the matches were still entertaining, but players can definitely zone out for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, like we saw a punch pick from Ferrari, and I don't think he hit any hooks that game, but they still.
Oh God! Oh yeah, you were casting that one with me.
Yeah.
That was insane. Not his hero, I don't think.
Yeah, not yet. He said
yet.
he's been practicing in pubs, getting flamed by random pubs.
So briefly, we mentioned, Kurt, you said that the reason you felt you lost one game was against Empire. You felt that it was the Radiant advantage, right?
Well, not like the reason he lost the game, but the reason mid lane didn't stall. Because I think I still got first blood that game. I got an ultra kill as Viper.
Okay.
But seriously, that TA should have been shit stalled.
All right, so I know what you mean, but anyways, we mentioned briefly that, and we didn't elaborate much, that Radiant has some sort of advantage. And I know from this Reddit post, it says that right now, pre 6.75, these stats were pretty much even, right? Radiant was up 50.57 to 49.43. But since then, it has completely shifted, and it's now 59% win rate to the Radiant, which is kind of, well, no, that's unbelievably high. That's not just unusual and an outlier.
It's a statistically significant number. It's almost the games. That's a lot.
So I was under the impression beforehand that the Roshan advantage was the reason why Dire was better to play, right? But nowadays, people are saying that Radiant is kind of broken. Can you elaborate on that? And can you explain what you mean by the pull and why that's so game-breaking?
Well, first of all, there are 2 things that made Dire really good before. One is they had a 10-minute Aegis. So when they had an Aegis, they could control the Roshan pit area right before Roshan spawned with an Aegis. So basically, once they got the Aegis, they could continue to maintain it and fight only with the Aegis. I think they could do that. The other one is people weren't used to dealing with the Ancient stack, which is a lot closer to their bot lane. But as teams got better against that sort of advantage sort of didn't mean as much. Also, people before weren't abusing the mid pull. That's the new advantage for Radiant, really, as well as the change to Roshan timer. That mid pull is ridiculous. Like, you can win mid with any hero against like any hero, just with someone pulling mid.
I see. And Sam, I know you felt it was an issue too, right?
Yeah.
Like, why?
Sorry, I'm crying.
Bulba's tears.
Uh,
So we're gonna show it up on the screen right now. It's actually showing. Do you feel like this is something that absolutely needs to be switched, as you can't do it on Diredel?
Okay, I'll put the. I have a story to say. Okay.
Okay, shoot.
So
sure,
once upon a time,
Well-
I think it was in March or whatever, like 2 months or 1 month before the international. Okay, and we were playing this good old team of mine, Complexity, you know, and I was on Radiant, and they were on Dire, and most of these games they had this guy called IX Mike, you know, who loved this hero called Lich. And when you're playing a hero like Invoker or Tinker mid, where it's a freaking Lich, and they had this whole Lich thing, like, you know, set up, and that was hell for me, you know, like going to this match and every time I'm just like level 3 when their Lich is like level 4, and I'm getting Frost Nova and I'm getting denied, and I'm getting like, so I was like, okay, let me go into the single player game. I'm like, what the hell? How do I beat this? So I'm like, okay, I can only beat this on Radiant. And then I remember me and PowerNet, we actually had, when Batrider came out in Dota 2, we used to do that whole thing originally. So shout out to him. He actually told me like this whole, like how to pull it and stuff. So after that, I told Milk, and Milk, I think he played Leshrac that game, or I forgot, whatever. He played some hero that cut the trees. And then he cut those 2 trees, and we practiced in like practice games and stuff when we were at the boot camp right before Dreamhack. But we obviously we didn't use it effectively that much. But so he cut those trees, and we kept mid pulling, and their Lich dueling finally just got beat, and we won that game. And I was so happy that I won versus Complexity off my little mid pull thing. And that's just a story that a single hero can beat a dual lane. You can't dual lane mid on Dire versus Radiant anymore. It's just not efficient at all, because you're gonna get denied experience, you're gonna deny creeps, and it's not even like dual lanes. You can't even solo like if the other team has it. Honestly, the only way you can beat this mid dual lane whatever pulling stuff is you have to aggressive tri-lane, and then if the aggressive tri-lane beats the whole 2-2-1 setup that was originally happened like a long back, whatever, the whole where you put 2 people on your safe lane, 2 people on your mid lane, and then 1 person in the off lane. So if you aggressive tri-lane, the other hero can't effectively just keep pulling mid. So I don't know, but it's just honestly it's just kind of stupid. And I know that teams like NTH and stuff have a lot of stuff prepared. I don't want to say it, but there's so much potential with this whole mid pull stuff. You can skewer the trees. I don't know. There's just so much stuff, and it totally just messes up the whole symmetry of Dota, which I hate.
Well,
so that's my story.
all right. Well, AUI, you want to comment on it a bit before, or no? Like you just
Well,
think it's pretty broken.
Yeah, I don't think it's manageable at mid. Like, if you lane 1v1 and they pull once and they deny 1 wave, like, your lane's over.
Yeah, that's pretty rough. But like before, people like were saying the same stuff about like small camp, you know, like when everyone started like pulling the small camp to the big camp, they were like, oh, like you can't aggressive tri-lane versus it, you can't even dual lane versus that because they're just gonna pull and deprive you of XP. But then people found a way to play around it, like Veno, Darkseer lanes, dual lanes, even aggressive tri-lanes. So if they pulled that small camp to the big camp, you would just dive the heroes and kill them because they're so far they can't help them out at all.
But
So like
that
people
pulls
kind of
right beside mid.
It's so risky though. Like
and it's
yeah.
beside the
You can't do
tower,
that.
and it's
Okay.
so close, and it's so far
on
in.
Dire top, you can move there, and there's like the tower is somewhat far, but this is like the tower's right next to it, and I don't know, it's so hard. And then you put like a hero like SF mid for Radiant, and
Right.
if you dive him, he just like shoots out 2 raises, your support hero is dead. It's so stupid.
Mhm.
So-
Well, and that's the other thing is, I think along those lines, it really protects the solo mid a lot more. So you can run something like Shadow Feed, and he's got, you know, the Shadow Demon or whoever it might be close to the lane to help him. Whereas normally that support hero would probably be roaming, or he's in the lane stealing experience. So it also protects, and I think makes a bit more viable heroes who otherwise might not be. At the same time, though, I just want to say it is very early. Like, the stats are pretty damning, but it is still
yeah.
a small sample size. Teams haven't had that much time to really... Like, it's been in the game for a little while, but teams haven't been abusing it for that long. So I think the verdict is still out for me as far as whether or not people will figure out answers to it.
Like, I just want to say, even before the Roshan change and everything, like, I thought Radiant was better. Like, a lot better. Like, when we had to pick Radiant or Dire, even, like, pre-TI2, we would pick Radiant.
Oh yeah, another
that?
thing is I talked a lot with Mike about this, and on TI2, Radiant always used to get first pick, right? That was the rules of TI2.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, there were 3 bans back then. You had to ban Darkseer, Lycan, and what was that last year? I forgot.
Naga.
Naga Siren?
Naga, yeah. You had to ban. Dire was forced to ban those 3, while Radiant could do whatever the hell they wanted and ban whatever the hell they needed. And I know that one of the reasons that I think Cole lost effectively to Zenith was because they felt a lot more comfortable I think, being on Radiant and having that, but they got kind of skewered, and Radiant could pick whatever they want, and they had those. And mid lane is so hard to gank if you're on Radiant. Like, it's hard to gank that mid lane because you have those 2 sides, and if you come from the top side, if you're smoked from the top side, your mid hero can see it. Like, your mid hero has to be all the way like towards like their hill if you want to gank mid. So
Radiant also has better rune control, and their off lane is stronger.
yeah.
Can you elaborate on that in terms of both? The rune being easier to control and why the offlane is stronger?
For runes, you have high ground closer to the runes, and for the offlane, you have that hard camp to pull, and their support has less rune to keep you out.
And you can even do some really cheesy stuff. Like, there was a game that Chow played an off-lane Keeper of the Light, and he was farming that hard camp from the river, which makes him ungankable. Like, you just can't kill him without devoting a ton of resources to it. If you do that on the Radiant side, it's a little bit easier to gank you, just because where the camp's positioned.
So do you feel like the solution, like one of the solutions could be reverting the picks in terms of Dire getting the advantage in terms of that? Or do you feel like that doesn't do anything and the small camp pull just needs to be fixed?
I don't think there should be that misconception where Radiant just gets out of first pick anymore. I think it should just be whoever chooses side doesn't get pick or whatever. So
Yeah.
it should be like that.
I think that makes the game more dynamic too. Like, I don't want Ice Frog to balance around one side getting first pick. Like, I really don't want that to happen.
Yeah, I agree.
Because not every tournament will want to do that, and then the game will have an inherent like imbalance or whatever. I actually think they should make that small camp unable to be pulled for. Like, just move it down right a bit more or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, first pick's in like a tricky situation as well right now because we see like first pick, it's a pretty big advantage because you have the option to get it like bad in TA basically. Like we see it out of a lot of Chinese teams, and at the G1 League we saw like Orange picking up TA, but when they were second pick they would ban Bat and TA so that IG couldn't get either of them. And a lot of teams are doing that. They're auto banning Bat. And then if they have like a notorious TA player such as like Ferrari or Mushi even, like I think IG realizes that they had a mistake giving Mushi Templar Assassin because he went 11-0. And they're just auto banning it.
And picking the Bat even sets up things like your own TA pick if you don't ban it out, so it puts you in a bit of a tricky situation.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like, second pick isn't even that bad in this version, I think, though. Like, last pick right now is really good, because you can pick a hero like OD or Klink's last that the other team's completely unprepared for, and then you can just straight up win off that.
Yeah, there's also Enigma picks. There's been so many surprise fifth picks Enigmas.
Yeah.
And, like, that's
I really love how the last pick works right now.
Yeah, I really like last pick, but I think first pick is, like, a huge advantage as well. Like, but I've seen Enigmas pulled out because they know the entire enemy lineup, and you're like, we can jungle Enigma, do a dual lane and safe lane, and get away with it, like, easily.
It's funny when they have no stuns, so you get a 4-second black hole every time.
Yeah, that
That's
as well.
the
Yeah,
best.
we actually, I saw that in G1 League. What game was it, LD?
Oh, I don't remember, but there was a game
Yeah.
where some team was just TP cheesing like crazy. Like, the one stun is used and then immediately TP out.
Wasn't that was
was
Night
IG.
Ferrari was Night Stalker. I remember
Yeah.
him chasing around Mushi's OD. For like an
Oh,
hour.
it was that game. Yeah,
and
it was
then
that game.
OD
You're
TP'd
right.
out. And
That
I
was-
oh, that's the
By the
worst
way,
feeling.
that was like the most epic play. That was like
That's-
literally
That's
I
the
want to say like
worst
6
feeling.
minutes of the enemy team's time wasted.
Yeah,
They didn't even
like,
kill him.
Collectively 6 minutes.
You know,
Five
Right.
it was
heroes.
kind of unnecessary too. All he had to do was banish the Night Stalker in the first place and just TP out.
But
But
he wasted
No,
so much time. It's
he
good.
wasted a lot of time. He did.
Mushi's
sort
a
of
bit of a
lucky.
showman. He's kind of, I wouldn't say he's cocky, but he's a very confident player. And when he gets hot, it's pretty scary.
Yeah, he was hot that tournament too. I think he had at least 30 kills over the 3 games. That's pretty crazy.
Well, and it's interesting because he had not really a good showing at all on the first day. I wouldn't say it was
Yeah.
entirely his fault, but Orange did not look good in their first match.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't impressed with Orange through like the pre-LAN tournament either. But then Mushi and like they just seemed to get their play style down, and I became a Mushi fan. He was real good against IG.
That guy's insane. If you watch him solo mid, I don't think he's lost. Like I've never seen him lose. He has like 90% like CS efficiency. I remember like I think it was throughout the international. I watched all the group games and he just completely crushed every solo he had. It's quite insane. And I know that the Chinese all fear him whenever the solo. I know that Ferrari like said he's one of the best solos to play versus, and I know they all respect him a lot.
It's funny because like.
Him, yeah.
It's funny because 2009 and like Crystal, I think it was, or maybe not Crystal, but they were like flaming him super hard apparently.
It's sort of like what you see happen with Falat sometimes, where he's a little bit biased towards the Russian teams. I mean, there is an element of Chinese nationalism for me anyway, because they really tear into him. Mushi definitely makes mistakes, and his decision making isn't always the best, but his mechanics and when he are pristine, and when he's on fire, He's like a very hot or cold kind of player. If he starts getting hot, I don't think there's anyone who can play better than him mid, but he does have this very odd habit of just holding onto his gold forever. And frankly, it kind of drives me a little bit insane as a commentator because we've seen it cost them some big games where they really should have been able to win.
Yeah, and he went for a risky item build too. He went Manta on TA. I remember that one game that they lost to IG.
Right, no BKB in it.
Yeah. And he blinked into that Roshan and tried to steal
Oh my god!
the
Do you remember his Queen of Pain build? It was like BKB into MKB, so he had like no mana pool. That was awful.
Yeah, he stopped that.
But
Right.
another thing about it is like these Chinese casters, like okay, you have like the American casters, they're all nice and stuff. These Chinese casters are freaking mean. Like based on the
They were calling
translations
him a
I hear,
retard and shit.
they flame the hell out of these players. I remember that one guy on Eho and Perfect Cat, like. Okay, let's all say everyone flamed the hell out of him, but
That was
you think
funny.
we flamed him? Like those casters flamed the hell out of him while he's playing there. Like just think, you're playing this huge tournament, everyone in the world is just flaming you. Like your country, the other country. I don't know.
Yeah.
These guys are flaming. I know 2009 like criticizes a lot of people. I know he was like, yeah.
Well, he's got sort of that elder statesman ability to do it as well. If like someone like myself or God started talking like that, sound ridiculous, but 2009 is with his accomplishments as a player, like he's got the latitude to do it. I would like to see him be a little bit more respectful when he's making these criticisms, but what can you
criticisms
do?
are all pretty legitimate though. Like they're not
They
like
are, yeah.
off. So, I mean, you could be more tactful, but I don't know. I would sort of like that from an English caster, like a really knowledgeable English caster.
Puppy, heard
Yeah.
him cats?
Well, Puppy is pretty critical when he casts, huh?
Yeah.
Was it PCT the one that avoided playing Storm because he got nervous at TI2?
No, okay, this is what happened. Perfect Cat played Storm in the group stages. He completely messed up. And then in the finals, they picked Storm, and then everyone just was flaming him. Like, they were all saying, die Storm, die Storm, die Storm, and they all cheered, obviously, for Die to play Storm. And then he told me after that he was feeling, like, sad that he didn't want to take away Storm from Die, so he just, like, okay, Die, go play it.
Yeah,
So that's what
I know
happened.
Dai said he was like surprised, right, that happened. He's like, I hadn't practiced this at all, and then...
And he got dual laned mid as Storm,
Yeah,
which
that
is
was actually pretty
not
hell.
fun.
Like, the one game he gets Storm, and he just gets completely crushed.
And there was no mid pulling in that game. They were not abusing it, so there you go.
Imagine if
More-
they did.
There
It
you
would have
go.
been like level 2 in like 10
Yeah.
minutes.
Easy.
Stupid fool.
I actually meant to ask you, LD. China is kind of known as a trendsetter, right? In terms of like the playstyles and stuff. Have they started using the pole advantage at all in terms of the rating side? Like, has that been breaking any games, or has that been relatively untouched?
Well, they've used it with mixed results. I would actually, I wouldn't disagree with you necessarily. I don't really think they're a trendsetter. I think they polish things better than other regions. I don't know that they actually start off a lot of the picks, and I think Bulba will happily testify to how DK is using the axe because of him. And I mean, the Chinese players aren't, I wouldn't even say they're necessarily the most innovative, but like they see other teams use a hero or they experiment a little bit. They don't just, use it, sort of throw it into their lineup. Like they really incorporate it and figure out exactly how it's going to fit into their overall strategy. That's what we saw from LGD. If you didn't watch the LAN finals, you should, because the way that they used Luna and Magnetar together, well, first of all, Magnetar appears to be the best offlane in the game right now, but Like the synergy between their picks is just so good. But I don't think it's the innovation. I think it's more just the way that they kind of polish things and make sure they're not just picking a hero that's been strong recently, but they're fitting it in to their style and into their strategy.
I'd like to point out that Bulba invented everything related to
every
every single thing.
No,
Has
but
been
when,
invented by
sometimes
Bulba.
I just play games. I'm like, oh, thank God Bulba came up with this build.
Yeah.
What would I do without Bulba, guys?
like the level 3 Spiderling build that AUI uses on his Broodmother.
I don't agree with that. I like the freaking.
You're
No,
stupid.
no, you made it, Bulba.
I want the extra
Like, how are
damage.
you just you like made your own build and then now you don't agree with it? That doesn't even make sense.
That's true. I'm that Viper was me, dude. You jacked that shit.
Yeah, Viper too.
Alright, so anyways, after we had, recently we just had the G1 League played out, right? The finals, which you actually casted LG. The finals was LGD versus DK, right?
Yeah, it was LGD versus DK. That's correct.
Yes, and I know surprisingly IG was kind of bounced. They actually ended up getting 4th behind Orange. Do you feel like this is kind of something that we'll start to see in the future where the Chinese teams even out? Or do you feel like IG is still at the top and this is something that was just a fluke?
I think IG wasn't really prepared for this event, honestly. They had shown this, they call it the face rush lineup, basically. That was the translation anyway, where it's, you get the Night Stalker, the Bounty Hunter, this Fen, these tanky, aggressive tower divers who really feast off of kills, aren't necessarily the best farmers for the most part, and certainly they don't play them as such. But LGD was really prepared for that. If you watch game number 1 between LGD and IG, they game planned very thoroughly. I mean, one of the big mistakes they made was giving away Batrider, which was just such a powerful... It was used really well by Xiaowei in the laning stage. But if you look at IG, they run the Night Stalker mid. Ferrari, it's not a hero that dominates mid, but you get your bottle, use Void to farm creeps, you get your boots. Like, he always gets his basic items up. Then the question is, what does he do after that? And in that particular match, what happened was they had an offlane Enigma for LGD. He got ganked once by the Ferrari Night Stalker. After that, he wasn't top anymore. He was actually jungling bottom near the Polk camp, and it was tri-lane versus tri-lane in the safe lane. So the Enigma was not only getting farm in the jungle and still keeping up and being efficient, but he was also protecting the tri-lane and protected by them. But like, they give up that one kill to the Night Stalker, and then they just tweak their lineup so that there's no really openings in the lineup for easy kills. I think they actually ended up trying to gank the Bat mid a couple times before he got his blink, but even, it's Batrider mid. It's not an easy kill, and Xiaowei was often, farming the neutrals, and once he got the blink, LGD just had them figured out, and IG picked a lineup that only had one real way to win, which was to just be aggressive and find kills, and they couldn't do it. And that happens in game 1, right? Okay, we're figured out, so maybe we make some tweaks, maybe we make some adjustments. They came back with even more of, not an all-in-ish kind of lineup, but we have one style to win this game, which was they ran an Axel mid, and LGD was prepared for that too. They smoke ganked mid early on. Xiaowei got off to a great start, and I just felt like IG got figured out, but I don't think their team, sort of to answer the second part of your question, I still think IG could be the most dominant team in China, but I think they got maybe a little bit complacent. Maybe they're a little bit fatigued. They've been playing and winning a lot of events, and it's a lot of pressure to always finish first event after event. But I think they'll bounce back, and I also think LGD proved they're the real deal as well. And they've done a nice job of incorporating some aggressive elements, but still having their fundamental get Sylar farmed, get a team composition that can kind of deathball and just 5-man Dota at a certain point. A little bit later than what you see out of Western teams like that, more around that 25, 30-minute mark, not around like the 15 to 20. But yeah, I think IG, a little figured out now, maybe not prepared for the event, but definitely a team that can bounce back.
Yep. Kurt, did you watch the games at all? Did you follow the results?
I watched Mushi juke Ferrari.
Do you feel like IG is a team that is kind of on the ropes right now, or do you feel like it's just people are overreacting and IG's still a top team?
No, I mean, like, one tournament, like, that's something that's like really, really prominent in like esports though. Like, the team loses like one tournament, one game, and they're like, "Oh, Navi's reign is over, guys." And Navi comes back in the next land and crushes everyone after they lost like one online game or something.
Right.
So
like you see people saying like, "Oh, IG sucks," like, "Oh,
yeah,
they're a noob team, gimmicky team."
Oh, those are the trolls.
No,
Right.
yeah, but
Well, no,
like,
there's
IG's
people who
definitely
believe that.
talented.
I don't know. I mean, I saw someone on Reddit call LD like the, I don't know, what's like evil slayer or some shit. I don't know. You tweeted it. But
Oh man, yeah. Well, some people think I'm a Chinese fanboy. I actually like. I'm not. I think it's more. I'm just always, as a caster, I always get impressed and excited by really smart, solid play. And I mean, let's be honest, the Chinese just do a little bit more of that than other teams. That's why they play so well at the international too. That's why it's Chinese Dota. I mean, but I do think there are teams. We saw also that teams like Orange have the talent, have the poise. It's not impossible for teams outside of China to beat these Chinese teams, but they have to practice hard and they have to really prepare for the matches very seriously.
I mean, we can look at like IG and Navi last year after they won the international. They didn't have nearly the competition that that IG does, obviously, with all those crazy Chinese teams. But they had like this aura of invincibility for like 6-7 months, where like they didn't drop games basically. And is that aura of invincibility gone now that IG has lost?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's shaken a little bit. I think it's good for this IG team. Like, we sort of saw that with Navi, right? Where they just kept on winning event after event, and they got a little bit cocky, they got a little bit complacent, and I think then they went into the international too, really on a bad streak. But in a way, I think that's exactly what they needed, was the struggle in the group stages. Then we saw a team that it lit a fire in their bellies. These are competitive players; they got to be motivated to play at the top of their game, and I think the same is true for IG. I think this is maybe exactly what they need to start training hard and start looking to get back on top of things. So it's a little bit early for me to say. The aura of invincibility is definitely shaken. I still think you maybe don't say they're the team to beat anymore, but they are absolutely a contender in every event in Asia and obviously outside of it as well. So we'll see what happens. It is possible this could be the beginning of their downfall, but it's real premature to start saying that's definitely the case.
Yeah. I mean, they lost 2-0 to LGD in the first place, right? Yeah, they did. 2-0. And then they kind of got rattled, and I feel like they weren't that stable in their picks,
There was actually
really
a great interview clip in between games 1 and game 2, which we actually had it subtitled. I highly recommend people check it out because it's pretty, like you said, it looked like they were a little bit rattled. And I can actually throw it up in the chat.
Yeah, that like face hug lineup that you said that they went for, it's not really like unknown in our type of Dota. Like Fluff and stuff loves to run those lineups, and he always has. It's like once you hit a certain point, your team is just so much stronger that you can go around and get every tower, and just basically like teams won't want to fight you because they know you're that much stronger in fights. And
I think it's like a pocket strategy to some extent. They were using it as like their core sort of go-to strat. It doesn't work it works against a lot of teams. I think it would work. It works better against a team like Orange than it does in general than it does against a team like LGD. Like LGD is known for their defensive play. They're known for not making mistakes more so than any other Chinese team. And I think it was it's something you can have in your arsenal. I just don't think it's something you can plan on winning with every game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, especially for Ferrari's heroes. I mean, it's Nightstalker Axe. There's no, oftentimes we see them on the Invoker or the TA. Like, these heroes can go later. They don't have to gank as much early to have an impact later on. You play Nightstalker, and to some extent, and especially the Axe solo mid, like, you have to have a good laning stage, or you're just not going to be able to contribute later on. So I felt like the hero selection for him was maybe not. I don't think it was versatile enough in some of those games.
Yeah, I really feel like they needed to pick that up because their mid lane was pretty much like it had a disadvantage to start with, and that's what you get a lot of the time when you're playing against TA in general. And Orange did very well to pick heroes that were stronger in the mid lane.
Okay, so moving on to the actual games themselves. DK versus LGD. Game 1, we saw LGD pick up Magnus actually first, right?
Yeah, they first picked it.
Yeah.
It's prioritized as like it's like just below Batrider, I think, as like just the top pick band for these teams, especially for LGD right now. This hero is just ridiculous as an offlane. 2009 has been quite imbalanced for a while now. Obviously, he's got Skewer for the escape mechanism, and he can also bully supports with it who are trying to harass him pretty well. Aside from that, though, like, he gives you everything you want in an offlane. It's like the offlane Tide, right? Where you get the AoE Initiator, you get a hero that doesn't need that much farm to be effective. A little bit more in some ways, because reverse polarity not as reliable to hit multiple heroes as something like Ravage. But that's where you have other heroes to set him up early on. Plus, he can actually farm a lot more safely because he's got the escape mechanism, and obviously he's got Shockwave, so he can farm from a distance. You don't have to walk up to the creep wave to anchor smash. So I feel like it's just the new and improved Tidehunter. And oh, by the way, he makes your carry ridiculously strong in the mid game. So you can get away with picking things that don't scale as well. Like, well, Luna scales pretty well, but, you know, she's not the hardest carry in the game by any means. But when you have Empower on her, that changes in a hurry. So, yeah, I feel like it was the Magnetar and the Luna. That was sort of the core for LGD. And then something aggressive that could control the tempo in the games. Beastmaster we saw in the first game. And I think the second game was Night Stalker. The Beastmaster play from Xiao 8, I think that was the best game he had in the tournament, actually. His movement was so good.
I remember that he started that whole build where he went, when he lanes mid, he'd go Axes, and then he'd go 2 Aura, and then he'd max the bird. And he, like, that was by far one of, like, he basically won them that game. Like, he moved everywhere, he was ganking everywhere, he went the right item build to counter them, he rushed Aghanims. It was pretty insane. Like, that was by far the best individual play, I think, of the whole tournament so far.
Yeah, that Beastmaster game was really impressive on his end.
And all of his movements were very efficient. You know, that's something. A part of it was luck. I mean, to some extent, like you can't count on the enemy team not reacting, you know, in time or not realizing that you might be ganking them. But you know, at the same time, he smokes up. He ganked that top lane where there's a Rubik. This is something the Chinese teams love to do, is like sneak one of those tri-lane supports or dual lane supports into the off lane, just, you know, get some experience. And he just punished it time and again. He kept on smoke ganking, killing off the Rubik, you know, rotating mid, and like he has this nickname Director 8, and boy, was it fitting in the finals. I mean, he really he controlled the tempo of the game so well.
Yeah, I was loving the hype of the G1 League. I love those little videos of like burning Zhao.
They're so corny, but they're great.
Burning your soul. Like in Shangzhou, I will teach you how to carry. Zhao 8 was in China, or in Hangzhou, I will teach you how to mid.
You know, it's interesting because there was an interview with Xiao 8 where I think it was after their game versus IG, and you know, someone asked them like why he was playing mid instead of Yao and why they made the transition, and it's basically, you know, Xiao 8's just a little bit more comfortable and adept in more of an aggressive metagame, which is what we have right now. You know, going for heroes like Night Stalker mid, going for, you know, more gankers and tower divers. You know, we're not seeing the Invoker solo mid as often. I just think it suits the team so much better. And some people, I think, question whether his mechanics were good enough to lane against Super or Ferrari or Mushi, you know, these just absolute, you know, top-tier Asian solo mids. But he was not only doing well against them, he was beating them 1v1, and in matchups where he should, and then even in matchups which could have gone either way. Like that Beastmaster game, who was he laning against? I want to say someone who is equally strong in lane, if not stronger.
Invoker?
Yeah, Invoker, and I think the Invoker had a little support as well, and he dominated the lane. It was impressive.
Yeah, he got ganked early. But yeah, I really like the hype that was built around the tournament, and I really appreciated all the extra work you've done. And,
another thing is, like, I love the whole bridge between, I remember in Dota 1, that only a few people ever watched Dota 2, Dota 1 in China and stuff, and I like the whole, I mean, people didn't know how they picked it, and people didn't know how to play. There wasn't much fanboys in between them. I know all the tournaments, people used to think that the Chinese would lose, but now at least, like, you're like, we have someone that's actually broadcasting these tournaments and that knows what they do and knows all these Chinese players, and it's obviously helping us grow too as players, because we're learning how they play and how to play more efficiently and stuff. So I love the whole like format, and it's probably, I think this was the first time like Chinese League has ever been broadcasted like this for the Western audience. And obviously the time is like pretty crappy for us, but
yeah,
there was like a bunch of people that still showed up, and I think the stream last night, like at the finals, like 15K was the highest, or 16.
Actually 18K for a little while.
Oh, okay, I didn't notice, but that was pretty good. And I do wish, I mean, there could be like obviously more. I can't wait to see LGD International playing with them, so I'm just waiting for G League or whatever.
Yeah, same here.
The qualifiers are, I believe, the 22nd and the 23rd. Unfortunately, it's looking like there's not going to be any English broadcast. I'm hoping at least the Chinese stream will be watchable so that people can tune in. I know for me, like at least Fengyun Zibo tends to buffer a lot. The 17173.com stream, which I actually don't remember where that was hosted for the finals. That was laggy, but I mean, at least being able to watch the games is nice. The other thing about G1, it's not even just us broadcasting it, but the fact that there's an in-game ticket is just amazing. You know, you can study these replays, and you guys all remember, I'm sure, in the Dota 1 era, the Chinese are just notoriously secretive with their replays in Dota 1. Like, you'd have a batch of replays finally released, and it's like 6-9 months after the event, and there's been 2 new versions. Like, the strategies there don't apply anymore, but yeah, with these, like, you want to see how Mushi's playing that Templar assassin mid, you know, exactly when he's moving, what items he's going for, like all those smaller little decisions, when he's going to farm the small camp, like all that stuff, you can see it for yourself. So it's not only the broadcast, but also the fact that there's an in-game ticket, which I hope it's a watershed event, although it looks like G League and Ace are going to prove to be a lot more resistant, which is understandable in a lot of ways because G1 League, it has a huge prize pool, but it's not really a fixture in China the same way that G League and Ace are. G League and Ace are on national television. You know, in the Western scene, a lot of times, like, casters will get paid to cover events. It's the opposite there. It's like the NFL or Major League Baseball or any other pro sport. Like, the TV companies pay G League for broadcasting rights. So they have a very different expectation of the production quality than someone like G1. And I think that is part of why we're seeing some resistance, but hopefully down the road, all of the Chinese leagues are going to be accessible to the West. That's the goal.
Overall, G1 League was my favorite tournament because of all your extra hard work and stuff. And G1 League, insane. Yeah. And
Thanks.
I really liked the interviews. I wish we could get some Western players doing some cheesy stuff like that, like Zhao 8, like a great script makes for great roles, which makes for great players.
The script has already been written. You cannot change it. It's so good.
Yeah.
So good. I mean, I really think it's something, like, it should be easier in the West. Like, we encountered some hurdles with this stuff. Obviously, like, for videos like that, they're produced by 17173.com, or in the case of the Chuan videos, by Invictus Gaming. So we didn't actually have to do any work to create those. We just had subtitles. But, like, in the West, players are much more open to doing things like that. Like, you have the Premier League, where I know Triumph just has players come on after the games and do interviews. Like, you can't have that with the Chinese players. We've tried to. They won't go for it, even if the interview is conducted in Chinese, even if we have a Chinese translator. So it's not just comfort with English. It's just not, for whatever reason, not feeling comfortable doing the interviews or just not feeling it's worth their time. So in a lot of ways, I feel like this stuff should be easier to do in Western Dota. And I mean, one of our real goals with the event is, like, people have this, I mean, you see it a lot on, all the Western forums, Reddit, and Team Liquid to a lesser extent. They tend to be a little bit more knowledgeable about Chinese Dota, but Join Dota, Ghost Gamers, where it's like the Chinese are robots, they're automatons, they're not real people, there's no personalities to them. And one of our goals with this event was to really change that perception. So, not only doing things like that video, but even the Asian players who were willing to do. We had an audio interview with Mushi, which was in Chinese. He was the one player who agreed to do a Chinese interview because he's more comfortable with his Chinese than his English. And Ice, we had a really in-depth interview with him. Also, having LGD International in China really helps because, not only did we get to hear about that team from 1437, which, by the way, I thought it was a great interview. The pacing, maybe not the best. I would have liked to edit the video. I was planning to, but we just never got around to it. But he had a lot of interesting things to say. And it's not just hearing about the LGD International team. It's hearing about the LGD China team from Westerners who are living in China. So they come with the Western perspective, and they come from our frame of reference, but they're actually there, so they can give us a real in-depth kind of knowledge and understanding of how the Chinese teams practice, how they're living, and hopefully they're going to benefit from being in that trading house. But I think that's the big thing that most tournaments don't do right now is, not only put the matches in context, doing things like showing brackets, creating storylines, talking about the players' history with each other, with previous teams. Like, you see that a lot in StarCraft from the top casters, Tastosis. It's not, it's not just like, oh, this great player is knighted too. It's, it's Nestea, it's, Zergbon, and they have like the whole backstory for him. Like, that's what Dota should be. And there's a lot of great stories that aren't being told right now. And I wouldn't say that, we did a perfect job by any means, but at least we're trying. And I think that's what I would like to see more of from other casters, and hopefully what we'll continue to do in the future.
I know. I think I know the answer to this, LD, and it's one word. It's angina. I talked to actually, I have a story. At TI2, I actually talked with Yao a lot about this, and one of my friends actually wanted to like talk to him and do an interview with him, and then he's like, the first thing he asked me is it a girl? And then and then I said no, and then he said, oh, we don't do interview if it's not girl. If it's not cute girl, we don't do it. So
Oh, Sam.
you need a cute girl to do an interview with the Chinese players, and they will do it.
Well, the thing is, though, it works a lot better in person than it does, like, on online.
Yeah, I know.
But no, I agree. That actually does help to some extent. And I mean, the big thing is, like, if we were at the event, we would have done interviews with everyone, and I think the players would have been a lot more comfortable with it. It's just they never do audio interviews over the computer, let alone what we wanted to do, which is webcam. So I think it's just something they're not accustomed to. But if we were at the event, like you saw at TI2, like Valve did tons of great interviews with them. They were very open to it. They had the translators. Someday, hopefully, whoever's casting these events in English will be at LAN and we'll be able to have the same kind of production and access that the Chinese do. We're not there yet, and there are some barriers, like casting and streaming from China is, well, you saw how many issues Blizzard had on the first day at the World with the StarCraft 2 WCS, and I mean, there are some barriers, there are some issues, but hopefully down the road it's something that can happen.
Well, all I can say is, if you bring angina, they will come.
Field of Dreams.
Oh, Sam.
All right, so coming up soon, actually, we have DreamHack Winter, right? That's next week? That's where Thanksgiving is for us. Kurt, you're actually going to that, right?
It's this week.
It's this week. That's what I meant. Sorry. Kurt, you're actually flying out tomorrow, right? That's what you said?
Yep.
All right. So was there anything in particular that you guys did to kind of, I don't know, prepare for DreamHack? Because I know a lot of good teams are going, right? Na'Vi, Empire, EG, Absolute Legends, Fnatic, we as Asians, No Tidehunter. Those are all really, really good teams. Did you guys do any sort of special prep at all? Or anything like that?
We had our normal practices, and we had to play a lot of DTO and TPL, so in terms of special things, not really.
Are you guys using Snake King? Is he coming for this?
Yeah,
or?
Snake got his visa today.
How do you feel about that, Kurt?
Oh my god. Snake King, get your visa! Okay. Do you have your visa yet? No. Do I need it for a plane ticket? Yes, you do.
Snake King's young. He's like 12, so he doesn't know about stuff like that. So you can't really blame him.
He's not 12.
No, he is.
Well, you have not heard him, LD. You have not heard him on Skype. And I'm sure one of these days we can bring him on as our guest, and you will be able to hear the great Snake King.
Yeah, when
Hey
we want
guys,
to lose
I'm
our
Snake King.
Dignitas sponsorship.
You know, we had an idea for a show, LD. It was going to be called Snake Factor.
Yeah.
You took Snake King and 4 people and put him in Skype. And the person who could last the longest without rage quitting Skype would like win a prize or some shit like that. So that was like our idea for a show. That one of these days, like, we're gonna ask Snake King to do it and he'll do it.
We'll have fun doing that.
Yeah,
good
it's gonna be hilarious.
Good luck with that.
First stream.
Because now I can just like imagine his like voice in my head. You know, it's like, why are you guys doing that?
Easy game.
Oh my god.
All right.
You guys pick up poor Snake King too much.
No, you.
We do.
No, you have not.
If you knew him, you would know he deserves it.
Not always, but it's so easy. Pick on him.
It's like a catch-22.
Like, how do you
like,
not pick on the 12-year-old?
Well, you guys are reinforcing all of the bad behaviors to a certain extent. Like you're boxing him in, you're ganging up on him, so of course he's gonna act out in certain ways.
All right.
I don't know. I have never heard 1437 go emo on someone, and the day he played with Snake King the first game, he went emo as hell. I have never seen him that emo. So
Snake Factor, man. I'll be the Joe Rogan of that show as well. So anyways, we see Na'Vi and Empire. Would you say that they're the prohibitive favorites, Bulba?
I don't know if it's like an announce or something, but I talked to Gob like 3 days ago or so, and he says that Blow Your Brain is not going to come with them because he has something with his visa, and most likely they're going to use MTW Sakshka or the old MTW Sakshka, the Sox guy.
Yeah.
So
The
they're going to
Frenchie.
use him to sub. And I don't know if Silent has his visa yet, or I mean, not.
Wow.
Actually, I think Silent did because he came to the US with M5, but something like that. But yeah, so most likely Blow Your Brain's not gonna go with them. I don't know for sure. I asked Goblin this and he told me like 4 or 5 days, but maybe something's changed. But he said most likely they're not gonna bring Below, so that's gonna hurt them a lot, especially since they're gonna have a player that's not gonna speak Russian with them. They're not gonna be able.
Also, like, they're still kind of an unproven team on LAN. I think that's the other big thing is, like, they've played amazingly well online, but they had, like, we saw at Star Ladder, they didn't quite put it together on LAN. So I think that's the other thing to keep an eye on is, are they going to be able to do it in an offline setting?
Well, they didn't have it together at first, but then they came back and like got their A game back, and they actually came second. So Navi 3-1 was the final score, I think.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, like, one of the games, they were so close to beating Navi, and they should have won that game with the Clinks, the really farm Clinks.
Oh yeah, they kind of threw that game away.
They threw that game away.
The game they won was really like convincing too. Like they played really well. So honestly, I think the way they play their playstyle with the whole like when they aggressive trialing and I don't know if Puppy picks some like clowny jungle hero like whatever some weird jungle hero if they just play properly and I mean I think Funnick is honestly Ken like that guy is insane and I hope he crushes at this tournament. So.
And also, this is actually the big news for me. This is No Tidehunter's first LAN together, right? And they're kind of looking like they're a team to beat.
Yeah, they're good.
Yeah. Kurt, do you feel like... I mean, do you guys play them at all, Kurt, by the way, for practice or anything?
We have. I think, like, EG, Empire, No Tidehunter, and Navi are the favorites, or the best teams going in.
And Dignitas.
Oh yeah, and Dignitas.
I like how you completely just underrated yourself.
No, honestly, I think those teams, even Pulse, I know Pulse can do some weird stuff, and even
Pulse has
honestly,
some
those guys
weird,
are pretty good too.
Like, I don't want to call it cheese, because it's not exactly that, but they have some unorthodox stuff that can really catch teams off guard, and they can just crush.
Yeah.
So I think any of those teams can beat each other, except
When do you
obviously,
arrive?
But Navi can do the best.
When do you arrive that way?
Oh, well, I leave at 8 p.m. tomorrow, and I have an 8-hour layover in London, and I actually don't know when I arrive.
The London airport is hectic.
Is it?
Yeah, a lot of Sams. I was gonna say kind.
Well, I'll be sitting there for 8 hours with Way 2 alone. So
All right, so
honestly, like, DreamHack is by far
as long as he doesn't try to kiss me like Bulba would.
Oh my god.
all right, so DreamHack, like Dark Horse teams, like you aren't gonna be. It starts what, the 22nd? Is that when it starts? Correct.
Sorry, I just play Dota.
It starts on Thursday. The group stages start then, and
Thank God we have a good manager.
I think Friday is the conclusion of the group stages, and they're changing the format a little bit. It's all the quarterfinals get played on Friday, so then when you come to Saturday, which is the championship day, like, you don't have... I think they even had 2 semifinals going on at the same time. And at Summer DreamHack, that's not going to be the case here, so...
Yeah.
I think the way they're organizing it is a little bit better, but Friday's going to be a freaking long day. It's, like, possibly 12-plus hours, and that's assuming no delays.
Did you say
Honestly,
that? Go ahead.
the whole casting booth is going to be sick too. With I know Gods is going over in Drasko as well. So and the whole GD squad. Shout out to Wepaz, the best guy.
Shout out to
the highlight of my Swedish trip.
Shout out to all of 2GD. Their production is really sick. They did Asus ROG, StarCraft 2, and it was really nice.
He doesn't like when people call it the 2GD. It's the GD studio. It's
the GD studio.
It's totally distinct from the 2GD brand. But no, yeah, they've done a great job, and I'm really excited because this is going to be the first DreamHack where like it's going to start to get some production quality beyond. Like I think this summer was an improvement because Toby at least got like a proper setup. He wasn't like crammed into a booth in a corner somewhere. Like there was an audience area where people could watch on a screen, and obviously the finals was in the amphitheater. But this time around it's going to be even better, I think.
Okay, so I actually wanted to ask you guys all if each of you guys had to choose a team that you feel are the heavy favorites to win, and one team that you feel might just surprise everybody. Starting with Sam. Or Bulba, I should say, since everybody...
I think Navi is gonna win. I want them to win. Or not want them. I'm sorry. I think they're gonna win. I most likely, like, if I bet, I'd obviously take them.
But you'd want
Honestly,
Dignitas to win, right?
yeah, obviously I want Dignitas to win.
Yeah, thanks.
I mean, but I'm saying, like, if I'd bet rare items or anything, I would bet them on Navi, you know? And another reason I want them to win is I'm tired of, like, the style that all these teams are playing right now, where it's just their support players just stacking every, like, single neutral, every single ancient, and just doing nothing but stacking. I just hate this play style, and I just wish Navi finds, like, a counter to this, or not counter, just, like, completely crushes them in another game where they're just not going to be able to do this play style. It's just annoying as hell.
LGD does a lot of that too. If you don't like it,
I know, but I don't know. I think LGD
It's strong.
they put pressure and they do it, while other teams they can turtle endlessly and just have this Sven, and regardless of how much you're gonna farm and how much you're gonna push, whatever, like, regardless of how early lead you have versus Sven, later on that Sven is just gonna, no matter what, he's gonna carry. Like, it's just annoying hero to play versus, and I just hate that play style. So I want to see more aggression, and I just want to see this. I want to see Navi, obviously, or I think Navi's gonna take it. Underdog, I think. I don't know if Empire, because if they're gonna take if they take Sashka, I'm not gonna put it high, just because he's a good player and all, but he doesn't speak their language. And if another underdog guys, I think Dignitas is. I think they can do well if they don't flame each other or don't kill each other before they play. And I would what's the other team? Yeah, actually, that's it then.
No title.
Couple teams I wanted to talk about was Absolute Legends and Fnatic. The reason why I asked you when you were, like, getting in was because I know Absolute Legends got in, like, last week, and they've been scrimming every day for like 10 plus hours.
Wow.
At a LAN cafe in Sweden. So they've been practicing for like a week and a half on boot camp, everyone together at a LAN center for this tournament. And I know Fnatic, they like kind of own the LAN center as well. So they've been practicing as well. So what do you guys think about those teams?
I really, really like Fnatic EU, actually. I think that they'll surprise a lot of teams. I think they got a lot better from when they first, like, not when they first moved to Hon, but when they first sort of broke into the competitive scene in Dota 2. Like, they're pretty good, I think.
Yeah, I think so as well. So we have the Absolute Legends and Fnatic factor, as well as the No Tidehunters, because we don't really know those teams. But I think three of those teams, there's definitely going to be upsets with some of them, for sure. Hopefully not Dignitas, you know. Yeah. I'm rooting for Dignitas to bring it home.
Yeah, hopefully we see some huge Admiral Bulldog Lone Druid offlane. I love that.
He gets entangled on the first hit every single time. Like, you'll be offlaning against him as, like, Broodmother, and he'll entangle you 3 hits in a row, and you're just like, wow.
Sometimes that's evidence of a skill, man. If you're good, Dota gives you more entangles.
Imagine if it was Ogre Magi.
Oh, God.
Win.
Alright, so LD, predictions, who you think will win, and one team that you think will surprise everybody.
I'm probably going to be wrong about this, but I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to say that I think No Tidehunter takes it. I know it's crazy, but I think they have some really solid players, especially at the new roster with Brittany and Loda and Ake. So I'm just going to, this is probably wrong, but I'm going to say No Tidehunter takes it. Dignitas finishes top 3 and probably Navi second. I think Empire, especially not having the full roster, might cost them.
Okay. And Kurt, I know it's hard to be impartial, but a team that you think will win, you can choose your own as well. Nobody will hate you. And a team you think will surprise.
Like Bulba said, if I had to bet on a team, I would bet on Navi. Like, straight up. Like, that's not like a lack of confidence or anything. Like, Navi's just, there's something else on land. Like, and I think, like, there are so many dark horses in this tournament, like, unknown teams that can do really well, but I really like Fnatic and No Tidehunter.
Okay. Oh, I meant to ask you about that, by the way. Do you think that that's just, like, the aura that they have, Navi? Is it something you go into a game and you automatically have the butterflies and all that?
I don't know. It seems like everyone else plays a slightly worse on LAN, and they play way better on LAN compared to online tournaments. Like, I don't know what it is. It's just like an experience thing. Like, when you're on LAN, you have to deal with, like, the crowd, and your equipment setup isn't the exact same, and they have so much experience with that, and you're...
Well, I don't think it's just all that. I think they care a lot more on LAN. That's another big factor. At least that's
and
what
they
I
know
think.
each other so well.
Yeah, they have
play style so well.
Yeah, they have like the best, like they have arguably the best players on each role. So That's
And like the
obviously
best
another reason.
teamwork. Like they know each other so well and how they play so well.
Yeah. And one thing, if you want to know, like, just watch Navi team fight and watch any other team fight, and then you know why they win so much regardless.
Yeah,
And even if
they
they have
survive
like,
with 10 HP every team fight.
even if Navi has like 13 kills, the other team has like 20, like they still win because they always put pressure. Like they die, when they don't die at their tower. They die in your base. You know, it doesn't matter.
And they
'cause
got a
if you
tower on the
kill
other
them-
side of the
Yeah,
map.
if you kill them, like you kill their heroes, you're not gonna get anything but just their kills. You're not gonna get a tower or anything. That's the reason why they can go even in all these kills, and they can like give you guys close games. But you think it's close, but in the end, they always know they're gonna win. And that's just how I think they play.
Okay, and I think that'll do it for us for this week's edition of Much Ado About Dota. I think, barring any sort of technical difficulties or anything like that, we'll be back at 8, I believe. I think 8 p.m. Eastern on Monday will be when we get back. I don't know what Kurt's schedule is like and all that, but we'll post. It'll be up on both Reddit and Team Liquid, and on NEODota.com, I believe. So, any shoutouts to anybody? Bulba first.
Shout out to my current team. It's called the A Team. Shout out to Wepaz. Shout out to Golan15. Shout out to Angina. And shout out to my dad in Infinity. And
Oh,
the
sweet.
and the goon chat and the goon chat. So those are my shout outs.
All right, and you can also follow Bulba. If you are watching the VOD, and if you're not, it's at Bulba Dota. LD, thank you so much for being on here. Any shout-outs you want to give or anything you want to plug?
No, thanks for having me on. I gotta say, I love your show. I think the pacing is great. The topics are interesting. Glad there was no Dire Tide discussion this week.
Oh, God.
Because I don't think I played a single game on that, to be totally honest.
Really? You get items?
No.
Yeah, I didn't really have that much time, and I don't know. It didn't appeal to me at all, to be honest. But I just think you guys are doing a great job with the show, and keep up the good work. And you should have a lot more views than you do. And if you keep at it, hopefully people are going to start to take note. Because right now, for me, this is the best talk show about Dota.
Aw, you're a cutie pie. And you can follow him over at, what is it?
Twitter, Facebook, YouTube.com/LDDota. Or equally importantly, I'd say just follow Beyond the Summit as well, which is Beyond Summit TV on Twitter. And if you just search for Beyond the Summit TV on Facebook, I think it's facebook.com/Beyond the Summit TV. Gods and I are doing a lot of stuff together. That's usually where I'll be streaming now in general. So if you want to watch me cast, that's the place to do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember like a year back, I was like, LD, oh, he's not that good of a caster. Now he's one of my favorite casters. So he's by far the most. So
There was a funny Reddit thread, actually. It was for the TPL. I missed a couple of kills and never said anything about them. I had my whole list of excuses for that happened, but Sam was flaming me there. And, well, I hope I haven't heard something.
Sam.
I mean, Sam invented
Everything,
casting.
blames
Yeah, so
everyone.
it's really weird that Sam flamed
Sam
the turtle style when he
Invents
invented
and
it.
flames everything.
Now he's my best friend. What a two-faced weasel.
He is two-faced.
He's my favorite curry
Extremely
boy.
two-faced.
So anyways, also, Paint, Quantic Paint, I don't know
Hey,
what I should be calling you, but any shout-outs or anything you would like to plug?
I'd like to give a big shout out to my boy and his stream, Twitch TV/Golan15.
Of course.
Yeah, of course, mandatory shout out. I'd also like to shout out to Wepez and Dirge Snoopy, who's tuning into the stream, that Australian bastard. And shout out to my Twitter. Follow me on Twitter. And what else? Any other shout outs? Shout out to Beyond the Summit. They produced a great tournament. Shout out to Universe, and peace out.
All right, and you can follow him over at PAINTITGOLD. And Kurt, I know you're wearing the Dignitas hoodie for the 3rd straight week in a
They're
row.
very nice. Everyone should buy one.
And you can follow him over at AUI_2000, 2000. Any shout-outs or plugs that you want to give?
Yeah, I'd like to just shout out to my team, Team Dignitas, and our sponsors, Antec, Intel, and Alienware, and the others. I'd like to shout out to our manager, Charlie, who's done a fantastic job, and I think Mikey Jai White has been asking me for a shout out for like a month. So shout out to him.
All right, and my personal shout-out goes to Golan15 as well.
Oh.
Snoopy for being on here. And
I have
Jumpsuit
one
Money.
shout-out.
Okay, shoot, by all means.
Shout out to Drascal the Rascal. I'm really excited to see him cast at Dreamhack. Wish I could be there, and he's going to kick some ass, so big shout out to him.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and Mikey. But anyways, guys, you can also follow NEODota on twitter.com/NEODota2, where you can tweet questions, comments, topic suggestions, or anything like that as well. All right, thank you guys.
Shout out to JL.
The better mid.